The breeze moves slowly through the empty hallway. The distant sound of a clock ticking. Lockers line both sides, their metals reflecting the fading sunlight. The air feels heavy, charged with mystery. Ayo's footsteps echo as she walks alone, clutching a book to her chest. It all started with a letter tucked into my school locker. No name, no clue who sent it. Just words, beautiful and haunting words that knew me better than I knew myself. Ayo's breath catches. Her eyes scan the hallway empty, but someone is watching. Someone who knows her secrets. Her fingers trembled as she pulled it free. A single cream-colored envelope, tucked neatly into the vents of her locker that afternoon. Her heart racing with something between fear and excitement. As she unveiled it, the handwriting was delicate, each stroke purposeful, as if the writer had poured their very soul into the ink. I see you, Ayo, in ways no one else does. Her breath hitched. She spun around, scanning the hallway. Empty. Yet the feeling of unseen eyes lingered, watching, waiting. I should have ignored it. She whispered gently to herself, the words barely audible. I should have thrown it away, but I didn't. And that was my only mistake. A gust of wind rushed through the hallway, sending a chill down her spine. Then, ever so faintly, a whisper, so close, it felt like someone was right behind her. I'm closer than you think. Ayo, the mystery deepens. The next morning, another letter. This time, she wasn't alone when she unfolded it. Tommy, her best friend, nearly dropped her cup of juice in the cafeteria. A love letter. Tommy gasped, eyes wide with excitement. Ayo hushed her quickly. Not so loud. She slid the letter across the table. Tommy scanned it, then looked up with a mischievous grin. It has to be Kunle. Ayo frowned. Kunle? Tommy nodded. He's always flirting with you. And let's be real, if anyone in this school is romantic enough to write a good poetry like this, then it has to be him. It made sense. Kunle was confident, charming, the kind of guy every girl secretly wished would notice them. But something didn't sit right. Over the next few days, Ayo watched Kunle closely. When she casually mentioned poetry, Kunle only chuckled. Poetry? He raised an eyebrow. Nah, that's not really my thing. I'm more of a say it straight kind of guy, he whispered. Her heart sank. Kunle wasn't the one. But if not him, then who? Ayo asking Tommy that next afternoon during their lunch break. A new suspect. Tommy lifted her shoulders. Well, obviously, I have another theory. David. Ayo glanced toward the art room, where David sat by the window, lost in his sketches. His fingers, stained with ink and charcoal, moved gracefully over the paper. Ayo hesitated before stepping forward. Hey, David. He looked up, surprised. Hey, Ayo. You ever write poetry? She asked, trying to keep her voice casual. David blinked. Not really. Why? She sighed. Another dead end. Then, another letter arrived. This time, it wasn't in her locker. It was slipped under her dormitory room door. Meet me in the garden at midnight, if you want to know the truth. Ayo's fingers clenched the note as uncertainty gnawed at her. This is a bad idea, Tommy warned. What if it's some weirdo? Or worse, a prank? But Ayo couldn't let it go. That night, wrapped in a sweater, she slipped out into the darkness. The school garden was eerily quiet, the scent of flowers thick in the air. A single lamppost flickered near a stone bench, casting long shadows. A figure stood waiting. Ayo's heart pounded. She took a step forward. You? The person turned. Kunle. Her mind reeled. But you said poetry wasn't your thing. Kunle gave a small, almost sheepish smile. I lied. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small worn notebook. This is full of letters I never had the courage to give you. Ayo's fingers trembled as she flipped through the pages. Every word, every poem was about her. You wrote all of these? She whispered. Kunle nodded. I wanted to tell you how I felt, but I didn't know how. For the first time, Ayo saw Kunle different. Not just the school's golden boy, but someone who has been afraid of his own feelings. She smiled softly, pressing the notebook to her chest. This wasn't just a love story written on paper. This was real, or so she thought. The next morning, Aya walked to school with a warmth in her chest. But as she reached her locker, she froze. Yet another letter. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the page. He's lying to you. The blood ran cold. Heart pounding, she turned the paper over. At the bottom, in small, precise handwriting, was one final message. I was the one who wrote to you first. Kunle stole my words. He took what was never his. Meet me at the library tonight if you want to know the real truth. Ayo's stomach twisted. Has she been living a lie? That night, she stepped into the dimly lit library, her breath shallow. Someone stood in the shadows. David. His eyes were stormy, filled with something between sorrow and anger. I wrote those letters, Ayo, he said, voice barely above a whisper. Every word, every poem, they were mine. Ayo felt the floor tilt beneath her. But Kunle, David's lips curled bitterly. He found them. He knew I didn't have the courage to give them to you, so he took them. And now he had you. Ayo's heart cracked. Betrayal seeping into the spaces where love had once bloomed. She had fallen for a story that was never his to tell. Kunle had stolen words that weren't his to write. And somewhere between the ink and the lies, the heart had become a casualty. Tears filled her eyes as she clutched the letters to her chest. Love was meant to be beautiful, sweet, pure, and undeniable. Some stories were never meant to be written, never meant to be told. Some secrets were better left unspoken. And this was one of them. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories.